All right, guys, we got to talk about this because this is absolutely amazing. Ted Cruz sets stage for 2028 run with Tucker jabs. So Ted Cruz is apparently leaking to the media that he's going to run in 2028 to be the Republican nominee for president. And so he's leaning into this fight with Tucker Carlson. Well, right off the bat here, let me just say, Ted Cruz is a bigger idiot than I realized. I know he went to an Ivy League school, but he certainly isn't acting like it. I watched a video the other day, shout out to the channel, I believe it was Rationality Rules is the name of the channel. He's normally like an atheist type YouTuber, and he did this long breakdown of the exact debate between Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson that went mega viral about Ted Cruz accepting money from AIPAC and, lobbying for Israel and representing their interests. And understand, Rationality Rules is not a right-winger. He's like us. He's on the left. And he does this breakdown and explains, it's just in an objective way, how Tucker Carlson dismantled Ted to his face. Like, just absolutely obliterated him. And Ted Cruz was on the back foot the entire time, totally fucking scrambling the entire time, was caught red-handed the entire time, basically selling out the country for Israel, right? And Ted thinks this is good for him. Ted thinks, like, the fight with Tucker is going to help him moving into the future. Nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing could be further from the truth. All right, so let's go. Here we go. Texas Senator Ted Cruz is laying the groundwork for a 2028 presidential bid by leaning into his feud with Tucker Carlson and staking out turf as a traditional pro-interventionist Republican. Okay, let me just pause here to point out, the fact that Ted thinks this is, a good look for him shows how dumb he really is. Because Ted, even George W. Bush, when he ran in 2000, even he was like, oh no, I'm a compassionate conservative. He had to pretend to be anti-war when he ran because nobody's pro-intervention. If you make an argument for intervention, like just ideologically, I'm pro-war, I'm pro-intervention, nobody likes that. Even right-wingers don't like that. They like to think, oh no, we only do war as a last resort, like self-defense, imminent self-defense, last resort. But here's Cruz going, no, I'm pro-war, I'm pro-intervention, and I'm going to win running on that platform. No, you're not. The biggest warmongers ran pretending to be anti-war. Trump is the biggest warmonger. He ran pretending to be anti-war. George W. Bush, biggest warmonger. He ran pretending to be anti-war. This just shows how little he knows. God, he's so up his own ass. So here's what they say. By poking at Carlson's isolationist foreign policy views, accusing him of anti-Semitism and more, Ted Cruz is putting himself on a collision course with Vice President Vance, a Carlson ally widely seen as the 2028 GOP frontrunner. Let me just point out, what Cruz is probably thinking is the donor money. That's what he's thinking. Oh, if I run, I can really do well because I'll raise all the money because all of the pro-Israel donors will throw the money at me. So I'll have a big fundraising advantage against J.D. Vance or whoever else wants to run against me. I'm not kidding. He might be thinking that. And on that, he's correct. He will raise way more money. But people, now it's a liability to have AIPAC money and have pro-Israel money because everybody knows you're bought. You're a cuck to a foreign government. The senator is also diving into issues that are tearing at President Trump's MAGA movement, namely ideological differences over Israel. We have a responsibility to speak out even when it's uncomfortable, Cruz said in a statement to Axios. When voices in our own movement push dangerous and misguided ideas, we can't look the other way. I won't hesitate to call out those who peddle destructive, vile rhetoric and threaten our principles and our future. Silence in the face of recklessness is not an option. Carlson laughed off Cruz's gambit in a text message to Axios, calling it hilarious. Good luck, Carlson said. That's my comment and heartfelt view, talking about good luck to Ted Cruz running for president. Cruz has been going after Carlson relentlessly in recent weeks, including on his social media feed and in speeches before GOP donors and conservative activists. He appeared on Carlson's podcast in June and criticized the host over his opposition to Trump's missile strike on Iran's nuclear weapons facility. He also slammed Carlson over his criticism of Israel's campaign in Gaza and U.S. aid to help Ukraine in its war against Russia. On foreign policy, Tucker has gone bat crap crazy, Cruz said afterward. He's gone off the rails. So Ted Cruz, who literally openly supports a genocide of innocent Palestinians in Gaza, he's calling somebody else bat crap crazy. Okay. During the past several weeks, Cruz has accused Carlson of engaging in anti-Semitism, blasting him for conducting a friendly interview with white nationalist and Holocaust denier Nick Fuentes. Well, he's right about that one. During a late October speech before the Republican Jewish Coalition, Cruz called Carlson a coward and complicit in evil for his conduct in the Fuentes interview. Last week, while speaking to the Federalist Society Convention in D.C., this month, Cruz said Carlson had spread a poison that is profoundly dangerous when he invited Fuentes, whom the senator called a little goose-stepping Nazi. It's true. That is what he is. Some of Cruz's jabs have been echoed by the Daily Wire's Ben Shapiro, who torched Carlson earlier this month over the Fuentes interview, accusing him of publishing abhorrent of polishing abhorrent views conservatives shouldn't embrace. This week, CRUZ plans to address the Jewish Federations of North America's General Assembly. The Republicans say that in challenging Carlson, CRUZ is endearing himself to powerful pro-Israel donors, like I told you, the donors, who are deeply angered by the podcaster's embrace of Fuentes and worried about the GOP's shift toward isolationism. It's definitely getting noticed. RJC CEO Matt Brooks tells Axios many of those donors align themselves with Nikki Haley, a hawkish former UN ambassador, in her unsuccessful 2024 GOP primary against Trump. CRUZ, the runner-up to Trump in 2016 GOP primary, has been taking steps toward a presidential run. He's been hitting the speakers circuit, including with recent appearances before the Miami-Dade Republican Party and Maverick PAC, an organization geared towards young conservatives. CRUZ is set to host a donor retreat next year and has been hosting a top-ranked podcast and syndicated radio show, which has helped him build a formidable network for soliciting small dollar contributors. This is cope. I'll talk more about that in a second. The senator's chairmanship of the Commerce Committee has given him entree to major financial figures as his opposition to Trump's tariff policy. CRUZ also is endorsing midterm candidates, which could help him win chits for a future run. CRUZ will need to reckon with the Republican primary electorate that has largely abandoned his George W. Bush-era support for interventionist foreign policy in favor of the more isolationist America First approach that Carlson and Vance support. Vance does not support it. Vance supports what Trump is doing. He supports the warmongering. Initial polls show Vance is a big favorite in 2028. Some GOP donors may be queasy about crossing the Trump White House and embracing a candidate other than Vance. Vance, unlike Carlson, has aggressively disavowed Fuentes, calling him a total loser. Fuentes has made racist comments about Vance's wife, Usha, who is an Indian American. All right, so here's the thing. Ready? Ted Cruz's base of support would be the pro-Israel donors, the billionaires who fucking are super right-wing but hate the tariffs. So he would be able to raise a shitload of money. But here's his problem. He no longer is anywhere near the heart of the Republican base. He just isn't. He's nowhere near it. He's not even close to near it. Does Ted Cruz, will he have like 80-year-old supporters in a Republican primary? Yes. In fact, that's the group that would like him, is very old Republicans who are down the line, standard Republicans. There are no standard Republicans anymore, but somewhat standard Republicans. Because the polls show that older Republicans are still overwhelmingly pro-Israel. It's like 70 or 80% of older Republicans are pro-Israel. They're psychotic Christians. They think the end times are going to happen and we need to be buddy-buddy with Israel for that reason so Jesus can come back on a winged horse. I'm not kidding. This is what they actually believe. So like the evangelical crazy people, the fundamentalist, they would be pro-Cruz. But all of the energy on the Republican base is with Fuentes. All of the energy online is with Fuentes. All of the energy is with the young people. Young Republicans are like 50% anti-Israel, right? And those numbers are only going to rise. So am I saying he has no chance whatsoever? I'm actually not saying that because he's going to raise a gazillion dollars. The post-Trump Republican Party would be a colossal mess. Trump, I think, wants to stay in power, but his health might not allow him to, and the political realities might not allow him to. He's going to want to stay in power. But I think Cruz, he would represent basically the 80-year-old Republicans and the pro-Israel donors and the Wall Street donors, right? And then, but the insurgent crowd on the right, it's Fuentes adjacent, it's Tucker adjacent, it's critical of Israel. It's not your dad's GOP anymore. And so I want to see it just for the chaos. I want to see it just because this guarantees that the Republican Civil War will continue aggressively. But it'd be fun. It would be fun to watch him run again because he would be basically an old school GOP neocon fucking stink bomb, messing up the America First fascist play. And don't get it twisted. Ted Cruz is also a fascist. He literally tried to help Trump overthrow the election in 2020. We're talking about degrees of difference here that are, they're there, but both sides are evil, even though there are degrees of difference. But he would only be popular among the really old people and the donor class. But that's it. And he also, there's a very high likelihood, too, of total flame out, total fucking humiliation, even though he raised all the money in the world. He could have a Jeb Bush-style campaign, right? Where he raises all the money in the world and just gets zero fucking traction. So, that's fun. To me, this proves how out of touch he is and that he's in that Washington bubble so deeply, is that he really thinks this fight with Tucker was good for him. Bro, you came out looking like a fucking dumbass. You came out looking like a total traitor. As a lefty, I see that, but there's a lot of people on the right who see the same fucking thing. So the fact that he doesn't recognize that tells me he's been to one too many cocktail parties. He hasn't been out there in the real world. He doesn't know. He cannot take the pulse of the country anymore. like he is a dying breed of politician. And so I want to see him run just because it'll continue the Republican Civil War, and it could be humiliating and embarrassing. But there we have it, man. Ted Cruz, he might actually run again. All right, guys, that's the show, y'all. I love y'all very much. You guys know the drill. Everybody subscribe to the channel. You can support the show on Patreon. You can tip with that thanks button on YouTube. Support Crystal, Kyle, and Friends on Substack. And, of course, go sub to Corrin's World, the YouTube channel, where we do live Kyle and Corrin's. We have one coming tonight, y'all. Come hang out with us tonight. All right, I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.